So it's Frankie here with a quick update on the advanced program. Just some reflections really on training over the last few weeks. Games, well, the one game we played recently, the one game we've got coming up against fundamental football for the under-10s and the under-12s, and the games we've had recently for the under-15s. Now, the under-15s have missed out on a lot of football in terms of matches, but have been training well. And thankfully, it paid off in the games that they've had over the last few weeks against SA1 Stars. Now, SA1 Stars is a local side, but a year older at least for some of the boys, 2, 3, even 4 years older for some of the boys we had in that group. Now, the reason why the under-15s did so well was because they played such a simple game. They passed and they moved. And, you know, it doesn't take a genius to say that, but it takes, it's a lot easier to say than it is to do. But that's the message I've got, especially for the under-12s and the under-10s going into the game on Sunday against a very good fundamental side. Most of the boys and most of the parents will remember our visit there last time, and despite battling well, we were outclassed, not because necessarily we were up against, you know, way better players, but because their game understanding is very good. So if we don't play a simple game, pass and move, make the ball do the work and move the ball into space and do it quickly, then we're going to get found out. That's my prediction. I'm not going to be able to make the game. So obviously I'm conscious that our preparation is good. Now, we've had plenty of training sessions together where we've worked on our principles of play. I was a bit concerned in yesterday's session that we had players, you know, just making poor decisions on the ball. So I'm going to give you the clear guidelines now for what we expect. So the way we set up, we're either going to play 9-a-side or 11-a-side against fundamental for the under-12s, and we're going to play 7-a-side for the under-10s. So for the under-10s, it's straightforward. We know our system, we know our pattern of play. And if we play 9-a-side, which is probably the ideal, but it depends how many players we've got available and what fundamental and ultimately decide. But ideally, I'd like us to play 9-a-side for the under-12s also, because I believe that helps us to embed the principles of play better. And, you know, a 9-a-side gives us the chance to get more touches on the ball, make more decisions, and so on. So the guidelines are just keep the ball moving. Limited touches, especially at the back and the middle third of the pitch. In the final third, then naturally we want to be creative. We want to do the unexpected. And that's really the key, because as we pointed out in yesterday's advanced training session for the under-10s and 12s, so many of the boys are dribbling every time they get the ball with their head down. And it's so easy then to predict, for defenders to predict what they're actually going to do when they get the ball. They know they're going to dribble, so they can get tight, they can close them down, they can, you know, really make a nuisance of themselves, and the game becomes harder and harder. So if you can be unpredictable, especially in the final third, great, but sometimes that means shooting first time. Sometimes that means playing a one-touch pass. Sometimes that means playing a 1-2. It doesn't mean that we're going to be dribbling and trying tricks all the time. You know, we put up a post this last week on Facebook from Dennis Bergkamp, one of the greatest players ever to play in the Premier League, the Dutch master. And, you know, he talked about tricks. You know, tricks are overrated, really. Why, you know, a trick, it doesn't really matter whether you can do tricks or not. It doesn't really matter what you can do with the ball. It matters whether you know where and when to make your ball skills actually work for the team. So that's the message. Keep the ball moving. Keep it simple. Do it quick if it's on. Nice and early. Make the pitch nice and big. High and wide. Make it nice and compact when we don't have the ball. That's another big thing for us in the way that we play against fundamental. And also, let's make sure we don't retreat into our box unless we absolutely have to. So let's make sure we push out, we squeeze the players as much as we can. And the goalkeeper, you know, can then push up high behind the defence to sweep up behind any balls that come over the top. But fundamental, we would expect, would look to try and play through us most of the time, although I'm sure they wouldn't turn down the chance to attack counter-attack if we left a lot of space to move into. But we do that by playing with a high line and also then having our goalkeeper nice and high as well. So the message is keep it simple, keep it quick, move the ball into space, do the unexpected in the final third. That doesn't always mean dribbling. That means, making sure that you understand what the opposition defence is expecting from us. If they're expecting us to shoot first time, maybe take a man on and get a shot off. If they're expecting to dribble, us to dribble all the time, look for a 1-2 or get an early shot. In the middle of the pitch, limited touches. At the back, limited touches. That doesn't mean we're going to blast it anywhere. That means we're going to look to play the ball into space. If there's really nothing on, there's nothing wrong with playing a long diagonal. I always say Swansea City, when they're in their prime, in their footballing prime under Brendan Rodgers, Roberto Martinez, the long diagonal ball to get them out of trouble and play the ball into space to stretch the opposition was always an option. Okay, let me know what you think. If you've got any questions on it, now's the time. Like I say, I won't be there Sunday, but Matthew and one of the other coaches will be there. So, the boys know them really well. So there'll be no excuses from that point of view. By the way, if you're relying on me to be there for every single session or every single game, of course I want to be there, but I'm on an important course which is important for our academy. So I don't want to miss games unless I can absolutely help it. But the coaches know the players well, and so I expect everybody to do their best. And let's see how far we've come against a very good side. Speak to you soon.